Welcome back to the anatomy series. This is the anatomy of equations part 2. And in this video, we're going to be dealing particularly with multiplication and the different ways to express multiplication. In part 1, we established that every equation is like the human body. Every equation that you see, no matter how short or how long, how complex it looks, it is the same as the human body. And what I mean by that is that the human body has a lot of different parts. We talked about left ventricle, liver, lungs, small intestine, large intestine. It's different parts of the human body. And the same thing goes for equations. The major parts of every equation, there are 3 major parts that are important to be able to identify and recognize. The first, every equation has its terms. These are the things that you use for your operations. I'll explain that right after this. Every equation has terms. Every equation has operations. For example, in our equation here, 4 times 3 equals 12. The operation is multiplication. There are 4 operations that we'll see in equations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Operations tell us to do something. Operation tells us what to do. We add, multiply. For example, if I were to replace this with the plus sign. So we're being asked to add. So we look at the symbol, or we look at the operation, and we say, okay, we have to add. And going back to terms, you ask, okay, so what do we add? You add 4 and you add 3. So operations tell you what to do, and terms tell you what to do it with. So you add, and what do I add? Add 4 and 3 together. So that's terms and operations. And the last part, again, every equation has terms, every equation has operations, and every equation has symbols. The symbol in this particular equation is going to be our equal sign. What we're going to talk about in this particular video is multiplication and the different ways, again, that multiplication can be written. In the American brand of mathematics, multiplication is written about 6, 8 different ways. So when you are reading these equations, it's important to know, to be able to identify that. Of course, the most common way, or the most recognizable way, is the X symbol that we have right here. We read this as 4 times 3 equals 12. And again, this is one of our operations, multiplication, of course. But so you'll see that, the X symbol a lot, but you will also start to see a lot of multiplication operations like this. This is a multiplication dot. It means the same thing as the X. Draw a little better arrow. It means the same thing. We're still being asked to, to perform the same operation. It's still 4 times 3, but the symbol, or the operation, the symbol used for the operation, rather, is a little bit different. Instead of using the X, we have a dot for this example. So you'll see multiplication written like this. Sometimes you'll see it like this, other times. Also, on your exams, tests, classes, and etc., you will also see multiplication written like this. So what we have is the terms in parentheses right next to each other. This signifies multiplication as well. This is telling us the same thing as the X multiplication sign. This still means 4 times 3 equals 12, which it does, but it's just written in a different way. It's a different way to show multiplication. Another way that you will likely see multiplication is with just one set of parentheses. So instead of putting both terms in parentheses like this, they'll just put one term in parentheses and put the terms next to each other. Again, this whole thing, let me do a different color. This whole thing still means 4 times 3. Still means 4 times 3, but it just is written in a different way. Again, this will be important when you start to deal with more complex equations. Notice that the terms don't change. We still have the same terms, 4, 3, and 12. The symbols did not change. Our major symbol, the equal sign, did not change. Really, the operation did not change either. All of this is multiplication. All the different ways that we've been talking about are just ways to show multiplication. So the operation that we're performing, what we're being asked to do, did not change.